My son-in-law called me a charity case in front of his entire office. I just stood there, holding a $4 muffin from King Soopers, while 12 junior analysts stared at me like I'd wandered in off the street. Connor, my daughter's husband, he's got this smirk, the kind that says, "You don't belong here." And looking at us side by side, maybe he had a point. I'm in a $12 Costco polo with a frayed collar. He's wearing a $3,000 Tom Ford suit. His watch costs more than 6 months of my car payments. But here's what Connor didn't know about me. My name is Jerome Bradley, 61 years old, and I've been letting people underestimate me my entire life. Because assumptions are expensive. And silence can be the most powerful move you ever make. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and let me know where you're tuning in from. This is the story of how 3 years of humiliation turned into 5 minutes that burned everything down. Let me back up. I need you to understand what Connor saw when he looked at me, what my daughter Sarah saw, what I'd let them see for years. I live in a ranch house I bought in 1996 for $187,000, 1850 square feet. Same beige carpet I installed 28 years ago, stained near the hallway, worn thin by the couch. Same lazy boy recliner from 1998, duct tape on the armrest. 32-inch Toshiba TV from 2014. Every morning I make Folgers coffee in a 4-cup Mr. Coffee machine. I eat Costco muffins, $4.99 for a 6-pack. I read the Denver Post on my driveway while the sun comes up. Then I drive my 2018 Toyota Camry, silver, 118,000 miles, bought it used for $18,200, to Habitat for Humanity. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 hours a week, electrical work. I'm good with my hands. I shop with coupons. Last month, I saved $23 on a $90 cart at King Soopers. I felt proud. Connor's Instagram tells a different story. $180 steaks at Garden Grace. $1,200 ski passes at Vail. Captions like "Hustle Pays" and "Built Not Bought." His Porsche Taycan, leased $1340 a month, Carrara white with a custom plate that says WLTHM8, shows up in every third photo. The disrespect started small, then it grew. Thanksgiving 2023, I brought green bean casserole to their townhome in Cherry Creek. Homemade. $8 in ingredients. Connor opened the door in a cashmere sweater. Probably $600. He looked at my Tupperware and smiled. "Jerome's on a fixed income," he told his guests at dinner, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "So this is very generous." Patronizing, like I was a kid who'd brought macaroni art. One of his friends asked me about retirement. I started to answer. Connor cut me off. "He was in facilities," Connor said. "Basically maintenance, kept the lights on, literally." People laughed. Polite laughs. The kind that aren't really laughs. Sarah, my daughter, my only child, she looked down at her plate. Didn't correct him. Didn't defend me. I stayed for 20 minutes. Ate quickly. Left early. Drove home in silence. Ate Stouffer's lasagna alone. Watched the Rockies game on mute. I remember thinking, maybe I should dress better. Maybe I embarrass her. June 2024. I stopped by their townhome to fix a leaky faucet. Saved them $250 in plumber fees. I had my tools in the Camry. Took me 40 minutes. Connor walked in while I was tightening the valve. "You don't need to do that anymore, Jerome," he said, voice soft, fake kind. "We have people for that. You're retired. Relax." Translation: "You're a handyman, not a guest." They didn't invite me to stay for dinner. Sarah said, "We have plans." They didn't. I drove home, ate Stouffer's lasagna again. Same routine. Here's what you need to understand. Sarah is all I have. Her mother, Ellen, my wife, she died in 2019. Ovarian cancer. 5 years ago last November. I held Sarah's hand at the funeral. She was 27, sobbing into my shoulder. I made a promise at Ellen's grave. I said, "I'll always take care of her." And I have. I've taken care of her in ways she doesn't even know. But taking care of someone doesn't mean letting them treat you like dirt. I was about to learn that the hard way. My therapist, Dr. Ramon, sessions covered by Medicare, he's been telling me for a year, You're erasing yourself to keep the peace. I always respond the same way. If I make waves, she'll pull away. She's all I have left. And it's true. The numbers don't lie. I haven't been invited to their townhome in 4 months. Not since that faucet incident in June. The last family dinner we had was February 2024, 8 months ago. Before that, it was Thanksgiving, the casserole disaster. Sarah calls me once a month, maybe. Average duration, 4 minutes. Just checking in, Dad. Then she has to go. Always busy, always somewhere else. Last week I saw Connor's LinkedIn. He'd updated his bio. Proud to manage $180 million in client assets, building wealth for Denver's most successful families. I stared at that line for 10 minutes. I gave him the MBA that got him that job, $98,000. University of Denver, 2012 to 2014. Sarah told me he had scholarships. I wrote the check anyway. Called it a family loan. Never asked for it back. The wedding? $88,000. October 2019. 6 months before Ellen died. Sarah thinks it was her savings and a small family contribution. I paid every penny. Flowers, venue, open bar, honeymoon in Maui. Never mentioned it. The house down payment? $125,000. March 2020. Sarah thinks it's a loan at 2% interest that she's paying back. She's never sent a check. Not once. Not in 4.5 years. Total, $311,000. And I never told her. Why? Ellen used to say, if you have to announce your generosity, it's not generosity, it's ego. So I stayed quiet. Maybe too quiet. I have a photo album on my kitchen counter. Sarah's college graduation, 2014. University of Colorado Boulder. I'm in the audience, 3 rows back. You can see my face in the photo, tears in my eyes, pride. She doesn't have that photo. I checked her Instagram once. Not there. There's a text thread between us. I mark her birthday on my calendar, her anniversary, her promotion at work last April. I send messages. So proud of you. Love you, sweetheart. Her responses are always short. Thanks, Dad. Love you too. She forgot my birthday 2 years running. 2022 and 23. No text, no call. Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. I got an invitation in the mail. Caldwell and Associates Client Appreciation Reception. Thursday, October 17th, 6 p.m. Handwritten note from Robert Caldwell. Jerome, looking forward to our quarterly review. Bring Sarah if you'd like. RC. I texted Sarah. Want to come to a work thing with me Thursday? 3 hours later. What work thing? You're retired, LOL. Busy anyway. I decided to go alone. I didn't know Connor worked there, and I definitely didn't know what was about to happen. Thursday, October 17th, 5:30 p.m. I pulled into the visitor lot at Caldwell and Associates, 1700 block of 17th Street, Denver, Financial District, 22-story glass tower. The firm's name in brushed steel letters, Caldwell and Associates Wealth Management. I parked the Camry, fed the meter $2 in quarters. Exact change. The elevator ride was 6 floors, 12 seconds, 4 people inside with me, all in tailored suits. 1 woman in Louboutins, I know because of the red soles. She glanced at my Costco polo, looked away. The receptionist was maybe 24. Name tag, Megan. She looked up from her computer. Can I help you? Surprised tone, like I'd walked into the wrong building. I have an appointment with Robert Caldwell at 6, I said. She checked her screen. Her expression changed. Skeptical to polite in half a second. Oh, Mr. Bradley, of course. The reception's in the main conference room down the hall. Can I get you anything? Just water, thanks. I arrived early, 5:45. Wandered toward the pantry looking for a water dispenser. The pantry was maybe 15 by 20 feet. Nespresso machine on the counter, snack baskets, whiteboard with Q4 goals written in blue marker. 12 people inside, junior analysts, mid-20s to early 30s, business casual, laughing, clustered around the island. Then Connor walked in. He saw me, froze for half a second, then recovered. Jerome? Voice loud, performative. What are you doing here? Did you get lost? 12 heads turned, stared. "I'm here for the client reception," I said. Calm, steady. Connor laughed. "Client reception? Jerome, this is for clients like people with portfolios, not Social Security." One of the analysts, Brad, maybe 28, wearing a Vineyard Vines tie, he laughed too. "Man, that's rough. My dad's the same way, can't let go of the blue-collar thing." Connor turned to the group, stage whisper. "That's my father-in-law. Good guy. Just never really made it, you know. Worked maintenance his whole life. Sarah's embarrassed he keeps showing up places." My hands started shaking. I set down my water cup, fingers tight around the paper. "Exactly," Brad said. "It's like, we get it. You worked hard. But there's a time to accept you're not in the room anymore." I kept my voice steady. "Connor, I'm here for a meeting." "A meeting?" He picked up my King Soopers muffin. I'd set it on the counter, still in the Ziploc bag. "With who? The janitorial staff?" The analyst laughed, all except one. A woman, maybe 26, short dark hair. Katie, I think. She looked uncomfortable. "Connor, maybe we should—" she started. "Katie, it's fine," Connor cut her off. "Jerome knows I'm kidding. We're family." "Right, Jerome?" He leaned in, dropped his voice to a mock whisper. "Listen, if you need money for the parking meter, I can Venmo you. Seriously, no shame. 32 years of work, 12,000 stock options, purchased at $3.20 per share. Decades of discipline, all invisible, all erased by a cheap suit and a loud mouth." "I'm fine, Connor," I said, quiet. "Thanks." He turned back to the analysts. "See? Proud. Gotta respect it, even if it's misplaced." I walked out. Hands steady, face neutral. In the hallway there were framed photos. Client appreciation events. Charity galas. One showed Robert Caldwell shaking hands with an anonymous donor at a 2018 fundraiser. The donor's face was turned away. It was me, but nobody knew. I entered the main conference room. 60 people, wine tables, past hors d'oeuvres, jazz quartet in the corner. Robert Caldwell spotted me from across the room. He excused himself from a conversation. Walked over. Warm handshake. "Jerome, good to see you. How's the portfolio treating you?" "Can we talk upstairs?" I said. Voice tight. "I'd rather not do this here." Robert's smile faded. He saw my jaw, my hands. "Everything okay?" "I just ran into my son-in-law," I said. "He works here. Connor Mitchell. He's in the pantry right now, explaining to his colleagues why I'm a charity case." Robert's face changed. Jaw set, eyes hard. "Connor Mitchell works here," he said. Slow, controlled. I nodded. "And he said what to you?" "That I don't belong in this building. That I'm not a client. That I'm embarrassing." Robert looked at me for 3 seconds. Then he pulled his phone from his pocket. "Jerome," he said, "give me 5 minutes. Then I'll meet you in the lobby. Trust me." He walked toward the elevators. I watched him go. I stood there, holding my paper cup of water. 60 people around me, talking, laughing. Nobody knew who I was. But 5 minutes later, that was going to change. Robert took me to the 21st floor. Private elevator, brass panel, keycard access. The doors opened into a hallway with mahogany walls and soft lighting. His office, corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows. Denver skyline stretching west toward the mountains. On the wall, photos. Robert in marine dress blues, 1980. The first Caldwell and Associates office, 1989, 800 square feet, strip mall in Lakewood. He poured 2 fingers of Maker's Mark into a crystal glass. Offered it to me. "I'm driving," I said. He nodded, set the glass down, sat across from me. "Jerome," he said, "in 19 years, I've never seen you rattled. Talk to me." I exhaled, long and slow. "Connor's a good kid," I said. "He just doesn't know, and I'm not sure I want him to." Robert leaned back. "You've been funding that kid's life for 5 years. He called you a charity case. That's not good kid behavior. That's delusion. If Sarah finds out I'm comfortable," I said, "she'll think I was lying to her all these years." "Or," Robert said, "she'll realize she's been lying to herself." He opened his desk drawer, pulled out a portfolio summary. 28 pages, embossed letterhead. Private Client Services watermark. He handed it to me. Your Q3 return, he said, 11.2%. That's $615,000 in fees we earned from your account this year. You're not a charity case. You're the reason 12 of my employees have jobs. I stared at the first page. My name, account number, total assets under management, $82,384,000. What do you want me to do? I asked. Before he could answer, there was a knock. Margaret Whitmore, Chief Operating Officer, 52, sharp eyes, always efficient, stepped inside with an iPad. Robert, she said, you asked me to pull Connor Mitchell's file? What do we have? Robert asked. Margaret swiped her screen. 2 complaints. June 2022. Made disparaging comments about a client's daughter's college choice. Called it directional school nonsense. November 2023. Told a prospect his watch was too flashy for someone with only $3 million. We lost the account. And tonight? Robert asked. Katie Chen filed an incident report 20 minutes ago, Margaret said. Said Connor publicly mocked a visitor in the pantry. Described him as a gentleman in his 60s, very polite. She said it made her uncomfortable. She wanted it on record. That was me, I said. Margaret looked at me, then at Robert. Her expression shifted. Mr. Bradley, she said, I'm so sorry. If I'd known... It's not your fault, Robert said. He turned to me. Jerome, you have 2 choices. 1, we handle this internally. I have a conversation with Connor, maybe recommend a performance improvement plan. 2, we handle this in front of everyone at the reception. I walk down, greet you in the lobby, and let nature take its course. I thought about Sarah, about 3 years of silence, about being small so she could feel comfortable. If I do this publicly, I said, Sarah will find out. Everything. She's going to find out eventually, Robert said. Question is, do you want her to hear it from Connor's excuses or from the truth standing in front of her? I looked out the window. The sun was setting, orange light on glass towers. What do I have to do? I asked. Just stand in the lobby, Robert said. I'll do the rest. 6:25 p.m. The reception was in full swing. 60 people, maybe more, wine flowing, jazz quartet playing something soft. I stood near the elevator bay, waiting for Robert. Then Connor walked out. 3 junior analysts with him, Brad, Katie, and another guy I didn't recognize. Connor saw me, did a theatrical double-take. Is he still here? He said, loud, to the analysts. I thought security would have... he laughed, caught himself. Brad said, Connor, man, maybe chill. I'm kidding, Connor said. Jerome's cool. He just doesn't get that this is a client event. Right, Jerome? You're not a client. You're family. Big difference. 15 people within earshot turned to watch. Then the main doors opened. Sarah walked in. I didn't expect her. She'd said she was busy. But there she was. Pencil skirt, blazer, new Tory Burch handbag. $428. She'd told me last week it was on sale. She saw Connor mid-sentence. Saw me standing silent. Her face, not surprise, resignation, like she'd seen this play before. Connor, she said, walking over. What's going on? Babe! Connor's voice brightened. I didn't know you were coming. Your dad's here. He's networking. Sarcastic air quotes on networking. Sarah turned to me. Low voice. Dad, why are you here? I thought you were home watching the game. I was invited, I said, by Robert Caldwell. She looked confused. Who's Robert Caldwell? Connor interjected. The founder, babe. But I think there's been a mix-up. Jerome probably got a generic invite. Sometimes they send them to, like, community partners. Habitat for Humanity types. Dad, Sarah said, soft, embarrassed. Maybe we should just go. Connor has to schmooze clients. I'm staying, I said. Connor laughed, not cruel, just dismissive. Jerome, come on, you're making this weird. You're not a client. You don't have investments here. You drive a Camry, for God's sake. Then he turned to Sarah. Voice louder now, 30 people listening. Babe, I love your dad, I do. But he's got to stop pretending he's in rooms he doesn't belong in. It's embarrassing. For all of us. Sarah said nothing. I looked at her. Waited for her to say something. Anything. She looked away. That's when the private elevator dinged. Brass doors opened. Robert Caldwell stepped out. Navy suit, custom Tom Ford, $4,800. Silver hair, perfectly combed. Reading glasses on a gold chain. Polished Oxford shoes. The lobby conversation dipped. People recognize authority, even when it's quiet. Robert scanned the room, locked eyes on me. He walked directly toward me, ignored Connor entirely. Connor was still talking to Sarah. And honestly, if he keeps showing up, I'm going to have to ask Megan to screen visitors. Jerome, Robert said. Connor stopped mid-sentence, turned. Robert extended his hand to me. Not Connor, me. Mr. Bradley, he said, voice clear, carries across marble floors. So good to see you, sir. The word sir echoed, 60 people watching now. I shook his hand. Robert? Robert smiled, warm, genuine. Your Q3 performance review is ready. Shall we discuss it in my office? Or would you prefer to wait until after the reception? Connor's face, confusion, then realization dawning, then horror. Sarah. Dad, what's he talking about? Robert finally looked at Connor. Connor, I don't believe we've been formally introduced. I'm Robert Caldwell. I manage your father-in-law's portfolio. Connor stammered. His portfolio? Yes, Robert said. Calm, factual. Mr. Bradley has been a valued client since 2006, one of our top-tier relationships, actually. Silence. The jazz quartet stopped playing. Someone dropped a wine glass. It didn't break, landed on carpet, but the sound cut through the room like a bell. Connor's mouth opened. No words came out. Sarah stared at me. Dad, you have a portfolio here? I didn't answer, just looked at her. Robert adjusted his glasses. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private? No, I said, quiet. Here's fine. Connor found his voice. Robert, I think there's been a mistake. My father-in-law is retired facilities. He doesn't have a portfolio here. Connor, Robert said, voice still calm, still factual. I've managed Jerome's account personally for 19 years. We meet quarterly. Would you like me to clarify the details? No, that's not... Connor stopped, looked at me, back at Robert. This doesn't make sense. Robert pulled his reading glasses from his pocket, put them on, deliberate, theatrical. Jerome came to us in January 2006, he said. Initial transfer of $380,000. Stock proceeds from Morrison Industrial Solutions. 12,000 options purchased at $3.20 per share in 1994. Balled at $38 per share in 2005. I heard someone in the crowd do the math. Audible inhale. Holy shit, Robert continued. Since then, we've grown his portfolio through disciplined diversification. Current asset allocation, $48 million in equities, $19 million in fixed income, $15 million in alternative investments. He paused. Let that land. Total assets under management, $82 million. The lobby went silent. Someone's wine glass clinked on a table. Sounded like a gunshot. Sarah's voice shaking. Dad, 82? I turned to her. I was going to tell you. Eventually. Connor's face was red, sweating. You're saying he's worth $80 million? That's impossible. He drives a Camry. He does, Robert said. And he's one of the most disciplined investors I've ever worked with. Never panicked during 2008. Never chased trends. Just consistent, patient strategy. Robert looked at Connor now, direct. Connor, you manage approximately $180 million in client assets, correct? Yes, roughly. At our standard fee structure, Robert said, that generates about $450,000 annually in revenue for the firm. Jerome's account generates $615,000. Roughly 3.3 years of your total production. The math landed like a hammer. Connor opened his mouth, closed it. But I have 18 clients, and Jerome is one client, Robert said, with more assets than your entire book of business combined. Margaret Whitmore stepped forward, iPad in hand. Robert, she said, I'm sorry to interrupt, but given tonight's incident, I'm recommending an immediate compliance review for Connor Mitchell. We have documented complaints from 2022 and 2023, and now this, publicly disparaging a top-tier client's family member. She paused. Excuse me, publicly disparaging a top-tier client. That's grounds for performance improvement plan at minimum. Connor's voice cracked. I didn't know. You called him a charity case, Margaret said, flat, no emotion, in front of junior staff. Whether you knew his client status or not, that behavior violates firm code of conduct. Section 4.2. All individuals on firm premises will be treated with dignity and respect. Sarah turned to me, voice breaking. Dad, why didn't you tell me? Would it have changed anything? I asked. She stopped, stared at me. Of course it would have. You what? I said. You would have respected me more if you knew I had money? Is that what you're saying? Tears started. That's not... Sarah, I said, voice steady. I paid for your wedding. I paid your down payment. I paid for Connor's MBA. You never asked where the money came from. You just assumed I was scraping by. And you were okay with taking it. You said it was a loan. I said pay me back whenever, I corrected. You never sent a check. Not once. Not in 4.5 years. Because deep down, you didn't think I needed it. Or maybe you didn't think I deserved it. Connor's voice, desperate. Wait, you paid for my MBA? $98,000, I said. University of Denver, 2012 to 2014. Sarah told me you had scholarships. I wrote the check anyway. I thought that was a family education fund. There's no fund, I said. There's just me, and a checkbook, and a daughter who was ashamed to admit her dad had money because it didn't fit the story she wanted to tell. Sarah was crying now, full sobs, mascara running. Dad, I never... You stood right there, I said, pointing to where she'd been standing 3 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, Connor called me embarrassing, and you said nothing. The room was dead silent. 60 people, not a sound. Even the jazz quartet had packed up. An older woman, client, maybe 65, pearls, elegant, stepped forward. She put a hand on Sarah's shoulder. Honey, she said, gentle but firm. What you didn't know was how lucky you are. That man gave you everything, and you looked away when your husband humiliated him. Sarah couldn't speak, just sobbed. I looked at Robert. I'd like to continue our meeting, upstairs, privately. Of course, Robert said. I turned to Sarah. We'll talk later, when you're ready to listen. Dad, please. Sarah, I said, I love you, but I'm done being invisible. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with respect. Not because of what I have, but because I'm your father, and I've always been enough. I walked toward the private elevator, didn't look back. Behind me, I heard Sarah crying, heard Connor trying to say something to Margaret. The elevator doors closed. It was just me and Robert. He pressed the button for the 21st floor. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. You did the right thing, he said. I hoped he was right. Upstairs, Robert poured himself that whiskey. I still declined. We sat in silence for 2 minutes. I stared out the window. City lights coming on. Denver at dusk. She needs time, Robert said. I know. But she'll come around, if she's smart. And if she's not? Robert sipped his drink. Then you'll know. And that's valuable too. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. Dad, please, can we talk? I glanced at it. Set it face down on Robert's desk. You going to answer that? He asked. Not yet, I said. She needs to sit with this. Downstairs, Margaret was handling Connor. I found out later, through Robert, what happened. Margaret pulled Connor into her office, closed the door. We need to speak, she'd said. Now. Connor tried to defend himself. This is insane. I didn't know. You didn't know he was a client, Margaret said. But you did know he was a human being, and you treated him like garbage, in front of staff, in front of other clients. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. She'd opened her iPad, pulled up his file. Here's what happens next, she said. You're on a performance improvement plan for 90 days. You'll complete mandatory training on professional conduct. You'll write a formal apology to Mr. Bradley. And if there's one more incident, one, You're terminated. Connor had tried to argue. You can't. I bring in revenue. You brought in $450,000 this year, Margaret said. Jerome Bradley brought in $615. And unlike you, he's never made anyone in this building feel small. Who do you think we're keeping? Connor walked out of the building at 6:55 p.m., face ashen, hands shaking. Brad, the junior analyst who'd laughed at me, watched him go. Whispered to Katie, "That was brutal." Katie whispered back, "That was deserved." Sarah stayed in the lobby for 10 minutes, crying, alone. Several people approached her, offered tissues, words of comfort, but she waved them off. Finally, she left, walked out into the October cold, got in her car, a leased BMW X3, $490 a month, also funded by money she thought was her savings, and sat there for 20 minutes before driving home. She texted me 12 times that night. "Dad, please. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Can we talk? Please don't shut me out. I love you." I didn't know. "I'm so sorry." "Dad, please. I'm sorry. Please," I replied once at 11 p.m. "I'm not angry, but I'm also not available. Take some time." She didn't respond. The next morning, Friday, Connor didn't come to work. Called in sick. Medical reasons. Margaret noted it in his file. By Monday, the story had spread through the office. Whispers, sideways glances. Junior analysts avoided Connor in the hallways. One analyst, a guy named Derek, 29, said to Katie in the break room, "Did you hear about Connor and the $82 million client?" Katie, "I was there. I filed the report." Derek, "Jesus, what was he thinking?" Katie, "He wasn't." Robert called me Wednesday. "How are you holding up?" "Fine," I said. Quiet. "Sarah reached out?" "Texts," I said. "Calls. I'm not ready yet." "That's fair," he said. "Take your time." "What about Connor?" I asked. 90-day PIP, Robert said. "Margaret's monitoring. He'll survive. Probably. But his career here is limited." "Good," I said. I didn't feel vindictive. I felt tired. Thursday afternoon, 1 week after the reception, Sarah showed up at my house. I saw her car pull into the driveway, watched through the window. She sat there for 5 minutes, engine off, just sitting. Finally, she got out. Walked to the door, knocked. I opened it. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, jeans, old University of Colorado sweatshirt. "Dad," she said, voice hoarse, "can we talk?" I stepped aside, let her in. We sat on the porch, same chairs Ellen used to read on. Morning sun, birds, quiet. "I don't know where to start," Sarah said. "Start with the truth," I said. "When did you start being ashamed of me?" She took a long breath, exhaled slowly. "Freshman year of college," she said. "My roommate's dad was a surgeon. She had a Range Rover. I had your Camry. And I started saying you were in management, not maintenance. By sophomore year, I'd convinced myself you were this sad, struggling man I had to rescue." "You didn't rescue me, Sarah," I said. "You erased me." She started crying. "I know, and I let Connor do the same thing, because if he was ashamed of you, it validated my shame, and I hate that about myself." I let her cry, didn't interrupt. "Do you understand what hurt the most?" I said. "It wasn't the money you took without asking. It was the silence. When Connor called me embarrassing, you said nothing. You looked away, like I wasn't worth defending." "Dad, I'm not finished," I said. She stopped, nodded. "I spent 5 years trying to be smaller so you'd be comfortable," I said. "Driving the old car, wearing the old clothes, not bothering you with visits. I thought if I stayed quiet, you'd love me. But you can't love someone you're ashamed of, and I can't be in a relationship where I have to hide who I am." The weeks after the reception unfolded slowly, like dominoes. Week 1, Connor took leave from work. Medical reasons. Really panic attacks. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Kept replaying that moment. Robert's voice, the lobby silence, my face. Sarah moved into the spare bedroom. Their marriage didn't end that week, but it started to. She texted me every day, sometimes twice. "Dad, please call me." "I'm so sorry. I was wrong." I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, out of necessity. I needed to know, would she do the work? Or would she just want forgiveness without change? Week 2, Sarah started digging through old files. She found wire transfer confirmations in a filing cabinet. 3 folders, each labeled with a year. Folder 1, October 2019. Wire transfer, $88,000. Memo, wedding expenses. Sender, Jerome Bradley. Recipient, Sarah Bradley. She'd thought it was her savings, money she'd built up from her marketing job. It wasn't. Folder 2, March 2020, wire transfer $125,000. Memo, home down payment. Sender, Jerome Bradley. Recipient, Sarah and Connor Mitchell. She'd thought it was a loan, 2% interest. "I'm paying Dad back," she'd told Connor. She'd never sent a check. Folder 3, August 2012, wire transfer $98,000. Memo, MBA tuition, University of Denver. Sender, Jerome Bradley. Recipient, Connor Mitchell. Connor had told her it was scholarships and federal loans. It wasn't. Total, $311,000. Sarah sat on the floor of her home office, surrounded by papers, and cried. She called her friend Melissa, 34, works in HR, known Sarah since college. "Mel," Sarah said, voice shaking, "I need to talk." Melissa came over. They sat on Sarah's couch. Connor was upstairs, door closed. "What happened?" Melissa asked. Sarah told her everything. The reception, the $82 million, the $311,000 in gifts she'd thought were loans. Melissa listened, didn't interrupt. When Sarah finished, Melissa said, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know how to fix this," Sarah said. "I don't even know where to start." Melissa leaned forward. "Start with the truth. You were ashamed of him, and he knew." Sarah nodded. I am. I hate myself for it." "Then tell him that," Melissa said. "Not in a text, face to face, and don't ask for forgiveness. Ask for a chance to learn who he really is." That night, Sarah found a box in her closet. Old photos, birthday cards, graduation announcements, Jerome's birthday cards to her. 2010 through 2023, 13 years, each one. "So proud of you. Love, Dad." Simple, short, consistent. She'd thrown most of them away, kept a few out of guilt. She realized, I never once wrote him back. Week 3, Connor's Reckoning. His therapist, Dr. Ellen Park, 52, specializes in high achievers, asked him the hard question. "Why did you need Jerome to be small?" Connor sat in silence for 3 minutes. Then, "Because if he was small, I was big. If he was a failure, I was a success. I thought the suit and the job made me matter." "And now?" Dr. Park asked. "Now I know I was wrong," Connor said, "but I don't know how to fix it." "Have you apologized?" "I drafted 6 letters," Connor said. "I haven't sent any." "Why not?" "Because sorry isn't enough," he said, "and I don't know what is enough." Connor's parents flew in from Scottsdale. His mother, Linda, 63, former teacher, sat him down at his kitchen table. "We raised you better than this," she said, crying. Connor nodded. "I know. That man gave you an education, a wedding, a home, and you called him a charity case." "I know, Mom. So what are you going to do about it?" Connor didn't have an answer. Week 4, my new boundary. I kept living my life. Habitat for Humanity on Tuesdays and Thursdays, grocery shopping on Sundays, Folgers coffee every morning. But something had changed. I wasn't shrinking anymore. Wednesday poker night with Robert. His house in Cherry Hills. 5 guys, all over 60. Cigars, bourbon, cards. "You miss her?" Robert asked. "Every day," I said. "But I don't miss feeling invisible." He nodded, dealt another hand. I also updated my will. Called my attorney, Stephen Marks, 61, handles estate planning. "Stephen," I said, "I need to make a change." "Go ahead. If Sarah doesn't apologize within 6 months, by April 17th, 2025, I want the inheritance restructured. 70% to Charity, 30% to Sarah. Stephen paused. That's a significant change. Current allocations 100% to Sarah. I know, I said, but I need her to understand. Relationships require respect, not just biology. Understood, Stephen said. I'll draft the amendment. I signed it on October 30th, 2 weeks after the reception. Sarah didn't know, not yet, but she would, eventually. On Halloween, October 31st, Sarah mailed me a letter, handwritten, 12 pages, front and back. I got it on Friday, November 1st. Saw her handwriting on the envelope. Sat at my kitchen table. Folgers coffee, morning sun. I opened it. Page 1. Dad, I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance to learn who you really are. Page 7 had tear stains, ink smudged in 3 places. I thought you were small. I thought your life was a cautionary tale. I was wrong about everything. Page 9. You gave me everything, and I gave you nothing, not even basic respect. Page 11. Connor and I are separating, not because of you, because I finally see him clearly, and I see myself clearly, and I don't like what I see. Page 12. I don't know if you'll ever trust me again, but I'm willing to try, if you'll let me. I set the letter down, stared out the window. For the first time since Ellen died, I cried, not from sadness, from something else, relief, maybe, or hope. I picked up my phone, sent Sarah a text. Come to the house tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. We'll talk. Her response came in 30 seconds. I'll be there. Thank you. I didn't respond, just set the phone down, and waited. Saturday, November 2nd, 10 a.m. Sarah arrived at 9:58. 2 minutes early, parked in the driveway, engine off, didn't get out right away. I watched from the window. She sat there, staring at the steering wheel. At 10, she got out, walked to the door, knocked. I opened it. Hi, Dad, she said, quiet. Come in, I said. We sat on the porch. Same chairs Ellen used to love. Same place we'd sat a week ago. But this time felt different. Sarah didn't have makeup, hair in a ponytail, jeans, old sweatshirt. She looked younger, smaller. I got your letter, I said. She nodded. I meant every word. I know. Silence, birds chirping, neighbor's dog barking 2 houses down. I don't know where to start, she said. Start with the truth, I said. When did you start being ashamed of me? She took a breath, let it out slow. Freshman year, she said. My roommate, her dad was a surgeon in Aspen. She had a Range Rover, designer clothes. I showed up in your Camry with Target sheets and Costco towels, and I felt less than. I didn't interrupt. Let her talk. So I started lying, she said. Small lies at first. I told people you were in management, not maintenance. Management sounded better, more professional. Go on, I said. By sophomore year, I'd convinced myself you were this struggling single dad who'd done his best but never really made it. And I had to be better, achieve more, prove I wasn't like you. But you never asked me, I said. You never said, Dad, how are you doing? Are you okay financially? You just assumed. She nodded, tears starting. Because asking would have meant admitting I cared about money more than I wanted to. And Connor? I asked. Connor validated it, she said. When he looked down on you, it made me feel justified. Like, see, even he thinks Dad is embarrassing. It gave me permission to distance myself. I let that sit. Didn't respond right away. Do you know what hurt the most? I asked. She looked at me, shook her head. It wasn't the money, I said. I gave you $311,000 over 10 years. Never asked for a thank you. Never asked for payback. That was fine. I wanted to help you. Then what? She asked. The silence, I said. When Connor called me embarrassing in that lobby, you said nothing. You looked away, like I wasn't worth defending, like you agreed with him. Sarah's face crumpled. I did agree with him, at that moment, and I hate myself for it. Why? I asked. Because I'd spent so long convincing myself you were small, she said, that when someone else said it, it felt true, even though it wasn't. I nodded. That's the thing about lies, Sarah. You tell them long enough, you start to believe them. We sat in silence for a minute. I need to tell you something, I said. She looked at me, nervous. I updated my will 2 weeks ago. Her face went pale. Dad, let me finish, I said. If we don't rebuild this relationship, if we can't get to a place of mutual respect, then my inheritance goes mostly to charity. 70% to organizations that mattered to your mother, 30% to you. I don't care about the money, she started. Yes, you do, I said. Not mean, just honest. And that's okay. Money matters. But it can't be the only thing that matters. And for the last 5 years, it's felt like the only reason you tolerated me was because you thought I might leave you something someday. That's not... Sarah, I said, gentle but firm. I need you to hear me. I love you. You're my daughter. But love isn't enough. I need respect, and I need honesty. And I need to know that you see me as a person, not as a wallet or an embarrassment or a project to fix. She was crying now, full sobs. What do I need to do? She asked. Tell me. I'll do anything. 3 things, I said. She wiped her eyes, nodded. 1, therapy, I said. You need to figure out why you needed me to be small. That's not about me. That's about you. And until you understand it, we can't move forward. Okay, she said. I'll call someone Monday. 2, honesty, I said. No more pretending. If you're ashamed, say it. If you're grateful, say it. If you're confused, say it. But no more silence. No more looking away. Okay, she said. I promise. 3, time, I said. This doesn't get fixed in one conversation. It took 5 years to break. It'll take time to rebuild. She nodded. How long will it take? For you to trust me again? I don't know, I said, but I'm willing to try, if you are. She stood up, hesitated, then asked, Can I hug you? I paused, then nodded. She stepped forward, wrapped her arms around me, held on tight. I hugged her back. She broke down, sobbed into my shoulder. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, I said, and I believe you, but sorry isn't enough. Show me. We stood there for a long time, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5. Finally, she pulled back, wiped her eyes. What about Connor? She asked. What about him? I said. He wants to apologize, she said. He's written like 6 letters. He's too scared to send them. That's his journey, I said. Not mine. If he wants to apologize, he can. But I don't owe him forgiveness, and neither do you. She nodded. We're separating. Officially. I filed papers yesterday. How do you feel about that? I asked. Sad, she said, but also relieved. I married someone who reflected what I hated about myself, and I can't fix me if I'm still with him. Good, I said. We talked for another hour, about Ellen, about memories, about the future. At noon, she left, hugged me again at the door. Same time next week? She asked. Same time, I said. She drove away. I watched her car disappear down the street. Then I went inside, made lunch, ate in silence. That afternoon, I recorded this video because I wanted you to understand something. People think wealth is about mansions and yachts. It's not. It's about options. The option to walk away when you're disrespected. The option to say, I love you, but not like this. I spent 61 years learning that lesson. Sarah and I talk now, once a week. It's not perfect, but it's honest. Connor wrote me an apology. I didn't respond. That's his journey, not mine. If you're watching this and you've ever been made to feel small, by family, by coworkers, by anyone, here's what I learned. You are enough, with or without the money, with or without their approval. Your value isn't up for debate. Thanks for listening. And if this story meant something to you, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Have you ever had to set a boundary like this? Respect isn't earned by being loud. It's given by being consistent. And sometimes silence is the loudest thing in the room.